Hello, this is Dr. Ronald Eli with Frog News. You know that Frog News is fully rely on God News. I have some very important information to give you tonight that the Democrats want America to become a police state, according to Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii. She was on a number of programs recently. She was on Tucker this today, and this morning, she was on Fox on Brian Kilmeade, and she has a lot of things that she was saying that we needed to listen to what she said. Tulsi Gabbard says that she is concerned that we are moving toward a police state. She said the very first thing that a president does when he gets elected, and every member of Congress and the military, they all swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And they do that against the enemies of foreign and domestic. And she said the first thing they do that for is because it's a foundation of this country, that it guarantees us our civil liberties and our freedoms, and not by any man or person or government, but it's endowed by our Creator. She's a lot better than a lot of other radical liberals in the Democratic Party. But she goes on, sometimes she says that it's important that we unite together against those that are trying to make this a police state. And she names them. She says those like John Brennan and Schiff. She was mentioning different ones, but she says John Brennan particularly is acting to having a domestic terrorist. He talks about because they are also undermining our Constitution by taking away our civil liberties, and we're guaranteed. She says they're trying to do this, both Brennan and, well, she said others. She quotes John Brennan directly, and she talks about what Schiff does as well. But here's what John Brennan, she said, I want to quote John Brennan because I'm on a direct quote, so they don't say I misquote him. He says, members of the Biden team who have been nominated or have been appointed are now moving in laser-like fashion to try to uncover as much as they can about what looks like very similar to the insurgency movement that they have overseas, where they germinate in different parts of the country and gain strength and to bring together unholy alliance of frequently religious extremists, authoritarians, and fascists, and bigots and racists, and even libertarians. Then she says, this is the extent that they're going to, she said, they're trying to undermine the rights and freedoms that are guaranteed to every one of us. And incredibly dangerous, she said, they want it to be like a KGB style surveillance. It's not simply our government officials, and it's not just, it's more than that. It's the intel. It's the also those enforcement agencies. It's the private businesses. It's a big tech monopoly she talks about. The left will stop at nothing to silence dissent. On the Today Show, she went and spelled out even further when she talked about the religious extremists may include Christians or evangelical Christians or anyone who is pro-life. How far will this go? She goes on to say, it has to be, they say, be a white person, likely a male, perhaps a libertarian who loves his freedom in this country and who will display his flag outside his home. She goes on to say, it may be those that are gone to Trump rallies. Once you start walking down a path that knows there's no end to it, where it leads. She tells about how dangerous it is to undermine our Constitution. These new domestic terror laws introduced by Adam Schiff, as she was talking about, is wrong, and it will undo the Constitution, the rights of our rights and our freedoms. And she goes on to say they are even talking about deprogramming the Trump cultists, as they say. Well, fellow patriots, I got a frog in my throat. Frog, that's not the one, but the frog in my throat is because it's late. But it's something that's passionate in me. We should be clear that we're not going to allow this to be on our watch. The first thing we should do is to go after all those that are trying to destroy our country by bombarding our congressmen, by insisting we are going to primary anyone who goes along with this terrorist ideas that they have in our country. Anyone who is trying to take our freedoms and our liberties, we need to go and vote them out if we can out of office, and even to recall them if possible. But remember, this is a spiritual battle. We've talked about that before. And that the most powerful weapon we have in a spiritual battle is prayer. Our prayers they go up like a guided intercontinental ballistic missile. They can reach anywhere. And we have a God who loves to answer the prayer of a sincere Christian. And he's a miracle working God. And he knows the end from the beginning. He knows just what to do. And the way of this world is going desperately right now, we need his help like we've never needed it before. But we cannot pray for him to answer our prayers and expect him to answer them unless we're true Christians, true believers in Jesus Christ. Patriot friend, we need to do all we can to stand, but we can't stand on our own strength. We can only stand with God's help. If you are not saved tonight, then I challenge you to become a Christian, because if you become a Christian, you have the power of prayer like you never had before. You need to take God's gift that he's given us in John 3:16 that Jesus talks about. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth, that is for you, friend. If you're not saved, all you have to do is ask Jesus to come into your heart and life, ask God to forgive you. And by faith, when you ask Jesus to come in your life, you will be saved. And then, guess what? Then you're on the winning side, because Jesus and God have never lost a battle. And then you're on the side that wins, the side that's I want to be always on that winning side with God and me. It's a majority, and that's the way it is. For your own sake, for your family's sake, for your country's sake, why don't you accept Christ as your Savior if you haven't already done so? God bless all of you. Have a good week. You have my loves and prayers and thumbs up if you can. God bless you. Good evening.